The gentleman you see on your screen right now is 17th century English physicist and mathematician Sir Isaac Newton. You may know Isaac Newton best from his laws of physics. The third law of physics is the one that I'll be talking about a little bit here, though maybe not exactly as Newton had intended. However, I'm certain that throughout his life he thought about it in ways not too dissimilar from the ways I'll be discussing right now. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. As you can see in this clever little meme that I found, there is also a social media overreaction. This brings us to the current president-elect of the United States, Donald J. Trump, who this morning posted that nobody should be allowed to burn the American flag. If they do, there must be consequences, perhaps loss of citizenship or a year in jail. The big orange buffoon decided to post at about 3:55 a.m. this morning. Now, I bring this up because for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. The last 8 years with Barack Obama as president has seen our country kind of slip into a really ridiculous mode of social justice progressivism and political correctness that has infiltrated universities, social media, entertainment, and all other facets of life. Now, I'm not someone who thinks that awful racist or hateful jokes are something that should be commonplace in society, but what seems to have occurred with the social justice progressives, the social justice warriors, is they've taken society in such an extreme direction that it's caused a blowback, and a lot of that blowback is the reason that we now have Donald Trump as president. Basically, what occurred was they for so long attacked so-called white cis males, which is basically straight white males who identify as males, mostly those who have a traditionalist mindset, and they put those people on the defensive automatically. And now you get things like this. So what happens is those people now identify as straight white traditionalist males, and they've formed their own identity politics in response. One of the key aspects of this identity politics that you have among the right wing is a deep fear of critical theory, specifically that came from the Frankfurt School. As you can see on my screen here, there's an article called The New Dark Age on the Schiller Institute's website. I advise you search this out on Google. It's a good piece, and it's not without its merits, of course. There's a lot of good information here. Now, the Frankfurt School was a group of Marxist thinkers who were reacting to their times. And they came up with different theories that they thought would engender a change in world society to bring us into basically, I guess you could say, Marx's prophecy for what the world should be. You had thinkers such as Theodor Adorno, you see on your screen now, Herbert Marcuse. Herbert Marcuse wrote Eros and Civilization, a book in which he introduced things like heteronormativity, the idea that the norm of heterosexuality is something to identify that's not necessarily true, And he introduced these ideas into critical theory. The Frankfurt School thought that they could do things to manipulate culture to bring about the changes they so desired. This gentleman is Saul Alinsky, who many of you may know from right-wing boogeyman memes and videos on YouTube. He's basically the devil incarnate to a lot of right-wing people who believe that cultural Marxism and critical theory are the single thing that is destroying society. And again, this idea is not without its merits. There is a lot here that I compel you to read. They believe that these people came to the United States from Eastern Europe, and they were just miserable because they saw a society that was functioning smoothly and happily, and people were prospering, and they did not like that. So they actively made a concerted effort to introduce ugly, grotesque things onto society. Part of the ways they did this were regressive ideas like political correctness. They had many theories of social control. Those theories were implemented on TV, radio. The idea of public opinion. They introduced the idea of the authoritarian personality, a personality who craves tradition and order, believes in traditional values as something negative. As I said, I am not attacking anything about the analysis on these people's part. What I'm attacking is the idea that cultural Marxism, the ideas that stem from Frankfurt School thinkers, are the number one problem our society faces. It completely ignores very real, age-old problems of human nature such as greed, carelessness, violence, incompetence. It basically creates a boogeyman that somehow they believe has completely overwhelmed society, taken over society, and manipulated it in that theory's own image. They mention a lot of names, and they make a lot of interesting points, but they conveniently leave out a whole lot of information in terms of the history of our society and how it's been formed and built. So in concluding, what I see happening is this right-wing anti-cultural Marxist identity politics forming, which is going to have an equal and opposite reaction to the left-wing social justice progressivism. So in the next few years, what you're going to see is the right wing are going to be the social justice warriors, the ones complaining about things, about attacks on their traditional values, about things like flag burning, which really have no impact on their lives, but they will make out to be some major thing they need to fight against. And anyone who dares to question this will be branded with all kinds of names. Sound familiar? Just like the social justice progressives now ridiculously attack and oppose anyone who does not conform to their extreme vision of reality. That's what we're getting here. It's a seesaw. It's going back and forth. Please like and subscribe and let me know what you think in the comments.